we wanted to make sure that we did get our last guest in for this month. Again, celebrating fathers. You know, it's very important for us to celebrate our fathers who are being a big influence to not only their children, but other, you know, the youth and just motivational or inspirational to other fathers. So we just wanted to continue to celebrate, and we couldn't even fit enough fathers in this month. Okay, so we're probably going to have we're going to continue this show, but again, welcome to the Black Podcast. We're just excited to be here. And I'm one of the hosts, Dr. Sherelle Hobson. Many of you know that I'm a student athlete resilience coach and an athletic program enthusiast. I've been an educator for over 15 years. And so a lot of you know that I am looking to move up and do some athletic directing and being more in an administrative type of position for our youth. I like to be a voice for them. I've developed a lot of programs for our coaches to really help to increase the 90% matriculation within high school athletics. We know that a lot of our young Black males are really heavily involved in athletics. And so it's a huge passion for me, not only being involved in athletics, but just making sure that our coaches are putting themselves in position to help the youth and kids, not just being involved in sports and just running the system, but actually getting something out of it and benefiting from it, which is in return getting an education. I also have a nonprofit, C12, and many of you know that was dedicated to my brother. That's why it's C12, and 12 represented his number and who he was and the type of things that he did. But we really focus on empowering our underserved youth through excellence in academics, athletics, mentorship, to make sure that we create a lifelong success. So we know that a lot of times we have that temporary success we see in a lot of our youth, but we wanted to create a lifelong of success. I've been blessed to be a speaker, an author. I've wrote 2 books, Seams of Gold, Discovering Beauty and Brokenness, and also Unleashing Your Full Potential. Both of those books really help to provide people with tools on how to be comfortable in their own space and to really acknowledge whatever place that they were in. And how to overcome adversity. We all are going to deal with different challenges. And so I just love not only being vulnerable in my books, but sharing tools on how people can overcome and rethink their thinking. And lastly, you know that I have a doctorate in sports administration. So, of course, you know, I'm very passionate about sports and athletics with our young Black men. Our study really focused on African-American males and the effects of their athletics on their educational plan. So I'm very passionate about our Black community. I'm very eager to make a productive change in our community. So not just be involved, but to make a productive change. So we are just glad to have you here again on the Black Podcast.
Well, that's a lot. I don't know where to start, but as most of you should know, some of you may not. My name is Brian Street, founder CEO of Your Legacy Begins Now, a social business that I developed. I started working on it about 5 years ago, actually longer than that, but I made it official almost 3 years ago now, where I focus on rendering services across a variety of different industries. So where I bring my skill set to the table to generate revenue, to where a stream of that revenue or percentage of those revenue streams goes towards the development and sustainability of the transitional age adolescent. Because while working in Miami, I found that too many youth were transitioning into adulthood and not really having the life skills necessary. And the systems that were in place weren't really doing anything to help benefit them. So I wanted to be able to bring my entrepreneurial space and my social services space, clash them together, and bring about that specific change. Currently, I'm focused on bringing together professionals across various different industries, specifically Black professionals that really focus on wealth generation industry. So we can focus on the importance of group economics so that we can circulate that Black dollar a little bit longer in our community and really understand and start to embrace the fact that we were kings and queens. And I'm gonna keep repeating it. We were kings and queens before we were slaves. So we just got to retake that ownership and start living a life that we know that we deserve. So with that being said, the gentleman that we have before you today If you look at,
Absolutely amazing.
yes, if you look at his social media, you just want to smile from ear to ear based off of his interaction with his little one. And it made me think about myself. So I don't even want to say too much about what it is that he does, the things the lives that he impacts. So we have none other than who?
Michael Gardner here.
Yes, sir.
Welcome. Thank you for being on the show. So we talk about, a lot of times, and we're just going to kind of get right into it and start talking, but because it's nothing like sharing, you can share someone's bio or you can share someone's story, and we really want to share your story. And I know that when I first saw you, I just thought, oh my God, like he freaking loves his daughter, like amazing. But I also know that behind, every smile is a story. Everyone has some type of history or journey or whatever. And so um, I first want to thank you for just being great and being a great example for our Black males, and just males in general. Just, it's so important to have that father-daughter relationship. And I see the value in that because I'm a product of a wonderful father. So I thank you for continuing to show us that there are a lot of great men out there, and you are definitely one of them. So so we're going to get straight into your business. Okay, we want to know, before the company and before all that, before the child. Where were you? What were you doing? What was your life like? Let's talk about that.
So I'm born and raised in Philadelphia, still living here. So I grew up, loving family, but I was raised without my father. My mom was a single parent. She's a nurse, so she worked, long hours. So my grandma was primarily raising me. Always been straight A, few B student. But as I was growing up, I was kind of silently dealing with issues from being abandoned. Nobody was really talking to me about it. But I saw like cousins and relatives kind of turn to anger and frustration in the streets, get in trouble. I didn't want no parts of that. So I just maintained my focus with school. Went to Virginia State University and have been working in finance for the last like 10 years. When Ava was 3, I was trying to figure out a way to bond with her. I always knew I wanted to be a dad, but without having my dad, I just didn't know exactly what to do. So, but I've always been creative since I was a kid as well. So between being creative and then trying to figure out a way to just interact with Ava that was actually healthy and productive, that's where my journey kind of started with sewing. Just kind of jumped into it. My sister was actually sewing, and it kind of sparked my interest. Went out, got a sewing machine, and from there, one day I just started making her stuff, took her out. She started posing and modeling, and we've been doing it for 6 years now. And it's really been a great bonding experience. It's allowed us to be able to talk, be creative together, and encourage each other, empower each other, and just really just have quality time as father and daughter.
Awesome. So, when you talk about, again, a lot of people, they don't know your story when they just see pictures. Only pictures can say so much. And so thank you for sharing that with us. When you when you were growing up and you felt that absence from your father, was it something where, do you feel like you always knew, okay, I'm going to always be involved because I remember that feeling? Or was it more of, because, sometimes we try to make ourselves, you focus so much on not being like your parents or not being like someone that you end up seeing a pattern. You're like, oh my God, I'm doing the same thing that I said I hated, And so, but then there's other people who really can go the totally opposite and be totally different, and they work out for them. But, you know, a lot of us still have, and I believe it's genetics or whatever, you know, even if you get away from it, there's still things in your life that you find yourself like, oh my God, that's what I definitely not trying to do. Do
Right.
you ever feel like growing up, or when you know, when you were going into your fatherhood, or even before your fatherhood, did you think, okay, I know I want to be a family man? Was that ever a plan of yours, or was like you was on something? Because you say you did finance, so I know finance and sewing is probably not the same. You know what I'm saying? So now the business, you probably thought, okay, I can make some money. How you can flip some money, sewing some stuff. I'm sure that helped. But when did you know? Was it ever a desire to be a father? Was it ever, you know, was it like a oops, you know, now I'm a father, or was it something that was like planned? You know, what was go back to that. You ain't gotta tell us, you know, all the scoop
Right.
unless you want to. But I'm trying to get to the point where did that come out? Where was there always a fatherhood there? Was that a desire of yours?
Yeah. So one, I was very cautious to not have the mindset of just trying not to be like my dad, because I knew, I kind of figured out that wouldn't lead me to where I was trying to go. Yeah, I always wanted to be a family man, and I'm sure it's deep rooted in not having that structure and foundation when I was growing up. Um, but it was tough because there was no like example to actually model. So I was literally figuring it out as I was going. So I got married when I was 25 to, like, you know, my high school sweetheart, and you know, that's Ava's mom. So, you know, but then at some point, you know, it didn't work out, so we ended up divorced. Now we co-parent. But yeah, for me, it was like a very clear vision of wanting to be a family man, wanting to be married, wanting to raise, you know, kids in the same household. Um, but I know it's deep rooted in just not having that experience growing up. Because when I got to the point of deciding to actually divorce, you know, go through with the divorce, I was struggling because of that. Because I knew when, you know, we started that journey, us all living together, being together was very important to me. I didn't want to end up in a situation where, well, it was never a question if I was going to do what my father did to me. That was never like a question. Because then Ava was too. We had already bonded, you know, been inseparable at that point. But for me, that absence of my father is kind of what fuels me to constantly make sure that I'm there for Ava. A lot of the things that I didn't have in my childhood, I absolutely have with her, which I'm proud of. It's, you know, it wasn't an easy process in trying to figure it all out, and I made plenty of mistakes. But for where we are right now and the journey we've had, like it's been pretty great.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Now, now being a male, I know for a lot of males coming up, especially if you're that,
Black males.
yeah,
Right.
well, just being a male in general, really, you like, I want a mini me, like
Right.
thinking about having that little boy. That's something that comes to a lot of our minds because, you know, I look at myself when I was coming up playing sports, like I was like right there at the top, but I wasn't like the top of the top. So I'm like, okay, I know I had it. Now, what if I had me a little one and I could put a little bit harder on it, and he could actually make it? Did you ever have that type of mindset going into being a parent or thinking about being a parent, or did it just kind of allowed it to do what it does? What was your mindset when it came to you actually becoming a parent?
So I was right there where you were. I definitely wanted a boy first. But when I think about it now, it totally makes sense for me to have a girl. So I was raised by majority, like mainly women. So I'm very comfortable talking to women. I bond quicker with women than I do with men because of my upbringing. So when I, you know, sat and thought about having a girl, it really didn't, like, after getting over the fact that it wasn't gonna be a son first. You know, I really didn't have any real issue with it, and I didn't see any, like, you know, I thought about sports, of course, but Ava's active too, so I literally can do those same things with her, and it doesn't really feel any different than if I actually had a son. But yeah, the way I'm kind of built and how my emotions work and how like my upbringing, it totally made sense for me to have a girl first.
Gotcha. And a lot of times we can get it twisted because I had those visions because I have a 13-year-old son. It was my firstborn. And I had those visions of him being my little athlete.
Got it.
He's a drummer. He's a gamer. He doesn't care about being outside getting sweaty. And I literally, my daughter is 6. I want to say I've thrown and kicked and wrestled around more with her in these 6 years than I have with my son in his 13 years. So, God know what he's doing. He don't make no mistake.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we never know how our story is going to end up, and even though your journey growing up wasn't probably ideal for you or whatever, that being around women probably helped to encourage you to tap into that creative side.
Yeah.
Because if you would have only focused on football or only focused on, maybe when it was time for you to have a daughter, you wouldn't be in an open space to be as creative, because a lot of times we, especially growing up, you have the things that the girls did and you have the things that the boys did. And the boys wasn't designing outfits, unless they were saying something else was going on. Like they wouldn't, designing outfits. They were playing sports or, getting dirty. And then you have the girls who were doing the outfits and the, all the other stuff. I was the girl that wasn't doing the outfits. I was outside playing football. So I was, coming inside with a black eye. Mama's like, I don't know why you insist on playing with the boys. Like, go play with the girls. And I was just like, I'm not interested in playing with a bunch of girls. Like they, they're playing with dolls. They're playing with, scooters. And I didn't want to do that. I wanted to play football. I was ready to tackle. And so, having that growing up as a male, and being able to take that journey and tap into that creative side is so amazing. And it's very bold, because you have people that put their 2 cents on and what that means and what, what they're doing. But the fact that you found something that you and your daughter can bond with, that nobody can ever take that away, that she'll always remember that for the rest of her life. So I just, I congratulate you on just taking that bold move. And I can't even sew a hole in my pants. So I can sew when it don't look good, but the hole is not there. But, it takes a lot of time and patience. And through sewing, I'm sure that's what it takes, time, patience, even thinking about the design. So when you first decided to go into this business with your daughter, either being a co-owner or whatever, the big picture too is this is a business she'll always have for the rest of her life. That she can always, and it's a gift that she can always use. If her job doesn't work out or whatever, she can always go into what her father taught her. And that's how to sew. So, those sowing those seeds into our daughters or our sons is so important. Growing up, I know the conversations that I had with my father, as I got older, they started to change, of course, because I became a woman.
Right.
What are those conversations like with your daughter? How do you separate okay, it's time to focus on, or do you even have that where it's, okay, right now we're sewing. Okay, so we're focusing on the creative side. Or is it more of a, we're being creative, we're sewing, we're designing, but we're also talking, so is it like a separation of, okay, it's business time, like the Jackson 5, like there was no playing time. There was y'all are practicing, you play with your friends later. So what is that like for you with your daughter? Is it just a combine of the two, or do you separate it, or what does that look like on your regular day?
So it's kind of like a little bit of both. Most of the time when I'm actually like creating and sewing, I'm usually like by myself. She's not far from me, but she's not like at the sewing machine with me. But usually she knows, okay, once, I've kind of gotten to a certain point of creating something, I kind of look at her, she know, okay, I need you to come over and try it on. Then she can go back to, doing whatever she's doing. But we're very like close in distance throughout that process. The only time that's like kind of set is like, okay, I need you to get dressed. We're going to go out, take pictures. We literally talk about the whole process. Where are we going to go take pictures? She's involved in the whole process now. When she was younger, I was kind of like, we're going to do this. She didn't really care, but she's very opinionated. She knows what she likes, what she doesn't. So we collaborate on everything. But I make sure to just make time where her and I together that does not involve sewing as well. That's most of the time when we have like our, father-daughter conversations. Sometimes we'll just play Uno, we'll watch a show together. Sewing is, it's a part of our relationship, but it's not like the sole focus of our relationship. We do like little daddy-daughter dates, and sewing is usually not involved in that either. So I still make sure I have like dedicated quality time with her that, doesn't involve anything of like what we're doing. Like I don't really, show her like what's going on with social media. And I may say like, oh, people, said they loved you in this dress, but I don't like pull out my phone and show her any of that. Like, for me, it's the bonding experience, but I kind of just shield her away from, some parts of it because I just want her to still just enjoy being a kid.
So what does what does that conversation look like as far as like, does she ask if she knows that other people are going to be looking at it? Like, does she ask for feedback? Because I know with kids, and it really depends on the friends that they have and, the parenting that you do and what you expose them to. But a lot of kids, they want to be fashionable. And like my daughter, for instance, she'll be here and I'll give her something to throw on, or she won't find what she wants to put on. And she'll be like, but this is ugly though. And I'm like, ugly to who? Who are you trying to impress? Like, are you having those types of conversations with her as far as her finding her identity and, and being comfortable in what she desires to wear in comparison to what the world is saying you should be wearing?
Yes. So just for example, I can approach her with fabric and say, oh, I'm thinking about making you this. She'll say, well, no, can you, make it shorter? Could you she'll say, I would like a different sleeve, or like, she's very clear on what it is that she likes, what she feels comfortable in. So at first, because I was used to just kind of making it, and she was younger and she just loved everything. My daddy made it, I'll go model it, no problem. Like I was used to that pattern. Yeah. And then when she started like changing things, I'm like, okay, this is becoming something.
Like, you always like flowers. What you mean you don't like flowers?
Like, she would sometimes just, because I'm creative and it's like, it's something that I hold close to my heart. Like I started taking it personal at first. I was like, yeah, she would just be like, no, I don't like that. And I'm like, but why? Like, she'd just be like, I think it looks better like this. So I had to adjust where I actually started saying, okay, actually, in some situations, she was right. It was better in the way she suggested it. And one day in that conversation, she said to me, but I'm the one wearing it. And I said, you know what? You're right.
You're like, I'm making it and I ain't gonna make it.
Right. So we've kind of, now that she's like, I like explained it to her so she understood it better. And now it's just like a regular conversation that we have. And sometimes she will just be like, okay, you're making it. And for example, I think last year I made her orange dress. She was like, I don't like orange. It's not a great color. I said, Ava, just trust me. She put the dress on. She said, Daddy, I love orange on me. Well, sometimes it's me convincing her. If she had it her way, I would make her leggings all the time, and they would probably have pink in them. She loves pink. She loves leggings. So, sometimes I will honor that and say, okay, I'll make you, what you feel comfortable in. But then I also like, well, let me push you a little bit to get out of your comfort zone and show you something else. But because she trusts me, she will actually just let me complete the process. And then, I know when there's something that I made, she's modeling because, oh, my daddy made it and this is what we do. And there's a difference between that and when she's like feeling herself from something that I've made. Like, yeah, it's a totally different attitude.
Yeah, definitely. So what is what is your like your feeling behind when you're doing it? Is it something that I guess just explain to me what it feels like to be um that to find what works that's going to bring y'all together, because I think a lot of people struggle with having a connection with their kids, right? Because a lot of times you want to connect with your kids with things that you like, and like you're saying, some things we don't like what our parents like.
Right.
Thank God my parents love sports, so they were like, my dad was super athletic, so he was like, he didn't push sports on us, but it was like you have to do something, like you better draw, and I couldn't do that, and I can't sew. So it was like you can run or do something, but you're not going to just sit here and do nothing. My mother, she wasn't athletic,
Mhm.
right? But the way she talked, you would think that she ran in Olympic trials, because she like, if you get out there, if I come to this track meet and you ain't in the front, we're gonna have a problem. So it was still that competitive edge of, but it was never that pressure of from my parents, you have to do this sport or you have to do. It was just like, it was mostly from my parents, if you're gonna do it at 100%. And
Right.
that skill I took for the rest of my life. I knew if I involve in something, I got to do it all the way through.
Right.
So what is that feeling of your, when you are finding that, when you found that bond, or when you're connecting with her? Because to her right now, it may just seem like sewing.
Right.
She may not truly understand, like, my dad really was sitting up here. She won't really understand the meaning behind the connection until she probably gets a little bit older. You know what I mean? Or you really start reflecting back on the conversations you had with your father. Or, I remember my dad saying, come take a ride with me. Nobody else wanted to go but me. And we would go look at houses, or we would go look at cars, and he would start talking about credit, and he would start talking, and I'll be like, I'm gonna have cash, I'm gonna be rich, I'm just gonna pay, I don't need credit. But he was always pouring those little nuggets into my life then. And it wasn't until I got older I said, oh, well, damn, I remember this is why he did it. What is your feeling behind your bond with her? Like, is more than just sewing, it's more than just what is it to you? What does it bring you? Or what kind of feeling do you have?
So it's kind of similar to what you were just saying about you and your father. For me, like, this experience has allowed us, one, to just connect. Like, we built, a bond. Like, she trusts me. And it's allowed me to figure out a way to just encourage her, empower her, and help her believe in herself, to have confidence. I kind of do the same thing where I throw in little, like, life lessons into everything that we do. And I know sometimes she be looking at me like we were,
Please shut up.
yeah,
She don't get it.
we were playing Uno, and she had to draw four. First card, she threw it out. So I said, okay, I'm gonna draw my four. And I said, Ava, listen, I said, when you play these games, like, have a strategy. I was like, a lot of times you want to hold on to your draw. So when I'm about to say Uno and go out, you can use that to keep me from going out, and you could possibly win. So she said, okay. 2 hands later, she used that tactic against me and won the hand. So I'm constantly just taking advantage of, like, little moments, and especially like this year, because like you said, for her, it was just, I'm taking pictures and clothes that my daddy made. Now, when people ask her, she's very proud. She has no issue offering my services to other people. But I think this year, from we were in a sewing magazine, we were on the Today Show. Like, I think that, like, all of that kind of, like, it registered in her mind a little bit different. That, like, wait, this is actually, like, kind of becoming more than she was like, being on TV is my dream come true. Like, she loved it. So, if somebody's talking to me about what we do, and she can throw her little 2 cents in, like, she's loving all this extra attention. But before, I just think it was just for her, this is what me and my daddy do. And for me, the fact that I get to combine being creative with, being a father is like, that's everything to me. Because, also I'm passing that down to her when, when she was trying to figure out how to manage living in two households when, you know, me and her mom separated. I talked to her about being creative to deal with those feelings. She would be missing me, and I'm like, well, you know, I can't physically be there. So I was like, why don't you draw a picture, or why don't you, you know, create something when you think about me? And little stuff like that helped her through that whole process when she was struggling too. So, you know, just like how it was, you know, kind of therapeutic for me growing up, it became therapeutic for her too.
Yeah. Have you ever dealt with anything like with her as far as her um like her self identity? You
Mhm.
know, I'm in the middle school, so I've been doing middle school for a while. So just pray for me every day that you wake up. Okay, just send a prayer in my direction. Okay, I'm just giving you a shout out for that. But I look at how these girls, even the boys, but really, I mean, they're struggling, right? And I remember, even as an adult, I mean, being a woman, there was a time that light skinned girls were prettier and skinny girls, because I know your daughter's not super super skinny, right? And she's a brown skinned girl, beautiful brown skin. Sorry, my dogs don't want me to be great.
Yeah.
And so, do you ever feel like there's a struggle with, have you ever had any challenges with her and her self identity, like feeling that she's not good enough, or have you ever had that conversation? And if you did, what was it like?
Yes, we've had some conversations. One, because so she's in third grade now, but last year she was dealing with a little bit of bullying at school. And either they were attacking her about like our relationship because, you know, we're close. And Ava, like, because she's so proud and she's a daddy's girl, she just goes around talking about me all day. And I think there was one girl in particular that it like rubbed the wrong way. So the little girl to get at Ava would like say me stuff about me. She like one day she said I stink. And I'm like, you know, so it was just like random things, but then it was her hair. Just little stuff that, you know, they started like saying to her to pick her apart. So, you know, the one day I went to go pick her up, she came running to me and said, Daddy, they're bullying me. I didn't know, you know, what was going on. She just ran to me screaming and crying. So I had to sit her down, talk with her. So I had her start doing affirmations every morning. When we would get dressed, come outside, get into the car before I dropped her off, she would sit in the car. I'm beautiful. I'm strong. I'm smart. She would set, you know, goals for her day. And I noticed that altered, you know, because she was internalizing what some of the things that they were saying about her. So that helped her, like, you know, get her self-esteem back up. But it, like, personally, I never really see her struggle with like how she looks. She, you know, loves being in the mirror. She can, you know, tell herself she's beautiful all the time. As she's like growing now and like maturing and her body is changing, um, you know, I've heard her say certain things, and I just usually try to give her like, you know, a little bit of perspective. And just saying like your body's going to change, like, you know, you're growing, you're getting taller. Because just her, you know, she's developing, and just her saying like that she was developing breasts. She didn't want to say the word. She was like, I don't like it, and this and that. I'm just like, it's just a part of your body. Like, it's okay. But I'm thankful that we kind of have that bond where we can literally talk about anything. Because I just don't ever want it to be awkward between the two. I'm sure at some point it will. But as for right now, it's not awkward. I would hope to keep it that way. Because I know she's going to, you know, hit that time where she's going to struggle with those things. But right now, she kind of has tools to kind of figure a few things out. So she's okay with that right now.
That's awesome, because a lot of us didn't learn affirmations until we got older, and so that you continue to speak, because your dad is always going to tell you that you're beautiful, and so it was just little things, little conversations that nuggets that my parents installed in me that really helped me. But when they talk about my father in particular, I knew my value very early because of who my father was. I knew that a man was a provider, a protector, a hard worker. Now, that made it hard for a lot of men because the standard was kind of high, you know what I'm saying? But that's what I knew. you
Right.
know, and so you only know what you see. And so, like you said, you know, you didn't have these male examples, so you kind of made your own way. But you probably had a lot of examples of what you didn't want. So you knew that's what you didn't want to do, you didn't want to be. So that was enough examples. I tell people all the time, you know, that people have already made the mistakes for us. People have already done it for us. So there's no need to repeat it. You know, I knew not to go have a baby at 16 or 17. I still don't have one, but I knew not to go do that because I seen what it does for other people.
Yes.
Plus, my parents put enough fear in my life to let me know that that wasn't going to happen.
Right.
You know, I just think about the relationship that you have with her so early in the type of conversations that you can have, that she feels comfortable coming to you, and she will continue to come to you. So thank you for opening that door for her, and allowing her to feel safe in that space, because right now we live in an age where a lot of kids are hiding how they feel, you know, because of their fear of their parents wondering how it is. But when you're from Philly, like I was born in Newark, and I know East Coast people are a little bit different when it comes to, you know, how you have conversations. So my mom used to be like, look, keep it 100 because I'm gonna find out anyway, you know. So it wasn't really no hiding, no sneaking going on. She was already gonna know. So I think that's the great thing about growing up in the city, is where, you know, you learn street smarts, you learn, you know, you got to learn it all very early. So I'm very grateful that you teach that stuff to her, you know, growing up, because a lot of us as women now are still struggling with that.
Right. Thank you.
No,
So
no, go ahead. No, I was just gonna say, you know, looking at the fact that you have divorced from your from your daughter's mom.
Mhm.
I'm not sure what I'm thinking, that she was rather young when it took place, but
Mhm.
you mentioned that she says she misses you whenever she's over there and she's not with you
Mhm.
sometimes. You give her these tasks that she can do to help remind her of you. Are there any questions or conversations that you have to address on the side? Because obviously, the older she grows, she's going to see kids with both of their parents together, and
Right.
questions may grow up. Have you started to tackle that stage yet? Or if not, how are you preparing yourself to have that conversation?
Yeah. So for me, it started a couple years ago, because she was 2 when we split. So obviously for her, things were kind of delayed and like kind of understanding what happened. Um, so, you know, she would make comments kind of like, you know, implying that me and her mom would get back together, the 3 of us would live together. Um, so I had to sit her down. I think she was maybe 4 or 5. I think she might have been around 5. And I had to sit down and have like that was probably the toughest conversation I've ever had to have with her. In part because I knew she couldn't fully understand. But I looked at her straight and I was like, listen, mommy and daddy not going to get back together. Like, we're not going to ever live together again. We will always remain a family. And she cried and cried and cried. And, you know, I just kept trying to console her and talk her through it. Um, so then she was okay for a while. But then those conversations kind of started again this year. Um, Her mom got engaged and actually just got married about a month ago. And I got engaged this year, so it was like a lot going on for her. Um, so Avis has this thing where she was just not open to having a stepfather. She's like, "Listen, I have a dad. I only need one dad. I'm good." So I had to like talk her through that process of understanding, like, one, what a stepfather can be. Like I told her, I said, y'all can decide together like what that relationship is. He's not here to replace me. Like, it's just another person that can guide you and love you. Um, so you know, she was uncomfortable going to her mom's house because he was there. And so we kind of talked through it. Now she's okay. Now she's kind of, you know, gotten to a place where I think she's understands, she's opened up to him a little bit more, and just, you know, but it was a process to get her to understand that it doesn't alter like our relationship because you have a stepfather. Like, he's just, you know, a bonus person there to love you. And he's, you know, that's your mom's husband now. Um, so yeah, we've had to have that conversation this year. And it's ongoing because she had to adjust to me dating somebody. I have been single for like 5 years. Never anybody I talked to, I never brought them around Ava. she knew nothing. She flat out told me, what did she say? I said, how would you feel if I had a girlfriend? She said, I would be sad. I would be like upset. So I was like, okay, I respect that's how you feel. I just, if I talked to anybody or dated, unless I felt like it was somebody I could see a future with, I just never brought them around Ava. So my fiance is the only one that I got to that point with, introduced them, and it was a process to work through with Ava to have her understand that me having somebody, again, it will shift our relationship a little bit because it's not just the two of us now, but I reassured her that I would still dedicate time to just her. Luckily, she likes her, so it's like, I didn't have to worry about that part. But it was just walking her through the steps to understand. Now, mind you, I'm learning as I go too, because it's not like I didn't have a stepfather, so I'm just like, listen, we're gonna all have to figure this out. But she would have moments where she would say, you love her more than me. And so, we're good now, but it's still like an ongoing conversation.
Yeah. And I know that in the past, I've always, when I talked to guys that had, kids, and there was that split between, somebody feeling more love than the other or whatever. Do you ever find yourself trying to overcompensate as a father to make up for that gap? Or was it never that feeling of, because I know that I've met people where it would be like, well, I don't want to discipline them because they're only with me sometimes. And I don't want them to feel like every time they come to my house that they're being disciplined, or, this is not or the opposite. And the other parent feeling like, over here we got rules and over there it's like a circus, Do you feel like did you ever have to feel like you were splitting between being both disciplining, but still have, did you ever feel like you had to overcompensate anywhere, or were you just, is it still just a process?
No, I never felt that. One, I just feel like it would be a disservice to her. Now I have had moments of guilt, and more so just because of like, starting that structure for her, and then that shifting and like kind of what it did to her. So but I never like, I wasn't buying her toys and nothing else because, like I put it in the perspective, like this is life sometimes, like, so, but yeah, I had conversations with her mom because her mom said exactly that to me. She was like, because when she was 3, Ava was flat out like, I want to live with you, Daddy. I want to live with you. So when her mom would get her and she would do stuff, she didn't want to discipline her because she's like, I have limited time with her. But I'm like, but then she's going to become somebody we don't want her to become because she knows she's getting over. So I kind of just stick to like what my focus is, which is just, I want to help her become like a well-rounded person. So I feel like if I start doing that type of stuff, I mean, she's a kid. She knows how to manipulate and get her way. I just see it coming before she tries to get me.
I think that's so important, man. Is being able to find that within yourself, because there's so many people that they automatically allow society to tell them how they should act.
Right.
They go through a separation. Let society tell you how you should father your children. But you having the focus of, I'm going to make sure you are a real well-rounded young lady. It allows you to really dictate how you do that parenting, what you expose her to, how you discipline her, how you talk to her about her her mom and her mom's relationship with her new husband.
Right.
And that's something that so much of society tells us that like we'll see the shows, like,
right,
he ain't finna replace me. Like that ain't your daddy.
Right.
You call him daddy. Like you that, and I know, we're sitting here, we're talking about it now. I know, like you said, it's a process for you as well. But to be mature enough to go through that process and not to try and jeopardize that relationship, that speaks very highly of you, and that's a great example. That's a great example to set, specifically for the men in our community, because the statistics are already out there that single fathers ain't nothing.
Right.
That single moms are at such a high number and dads are absent. And they use those statistics. We had a guest on a few weeks back
Mm.
He was mentioning how some of the statistics will qualify a single mom, even if the dad lives in the house, but they're not married. She's still a single mom. And then if word gets out that this is a single mom and nobody even knows what the situation is, you're automatically, or black men are automatically token deadbeat dads.
Right.
So you being so active, but not only being active, but not tearing down that other man over there that started something with your ex. I think that speaks volumes, man. And I give you kudos to that, because not enough of us have the mental fortitude and wherewithal to be that type of man, and not get all caught up in our ego.
Right.
So I hope our listeners are really taken from that.
Yeah. And it just shows your a level of confidence that you have in the type of father that you are. You know, you don't have to make up that time, or you don't have to try to do anything extra because of the time that you've invested in her life. Not just through the sewing, but just like you said, the little nuggets that she'll always remember. So where are you at right now? What are you doing with the sewing? Is this something that you're because when she gets older, let's just say, okay, she gets older and she's like, I'm tired of modeling. I don't want to put on another outfit.
Right.
I want to go play football or something. I don't know. What do you feel like that's something that you're going to continue, or is it just kind of like, hey, this is something we're doing together while she's want to do it, or have you quit all your day job and this is what you're doing and this needs to work?
So I've already had that conversation with Ava where I told her the day she no longer wants to do it, like, we can stop. Now I'm going to continue sewing, and probably I would just shift to just probably doing stuff for myself, which obviously would be different because, a part of my passion for it is actually like my instincts are to just create for her. I kind of just started making stuff for me because she loves when we actually do daddy daughter outfits. I'm not gonna lie and say, like, if she came to me tomorrow and said that, I'll be heartbroken. Just because of what it feels like to me, but I don't want to pressure her or make her feel like, she has to do it. Right now, her thing is she wants to be a designer. She, a couple days ago, we got her a sketchbook. She's doing sketches right now. So she says she wants to go to FIT and she wants to design. So, we'll see. Before that, she wanted to be a DJ. So we'll see if she actually takes it. But yeah, for DJ, it'll be something I continue to do. I would just have to shift to, I guess me being a focus, because I don't want to force her, but she's actually started sewing more too. So, it may be leaning towards her sewing more for herself, kind of open about it.
And she can do a design, a dress. You can wear something that says "dressed by my daughter."
Right.
She's gonna flip it on you. She's gonna make you wear. She's gonna pay you back. She's gonna make you wear all this stuff. You're gonna be like, I'm not feeling this blazer. She's gonna be like, put it on. I know it's shiny and it's pink. It's gonna look good on you. And you're just gonna have to suck it up because all the outfits that she probably didn't want to wear. But again, just thank you for just being who you are and what you're doing. So the clothes that you're making, is it just like you said, is it primary for her? Are you selling some of these clothes? Or once she grows out of them, are y'all putting them up for $1,000 for the jacket? Or where do we go to get these? I'm always thinking about how to make money, so I'm like, I'll be like, oh, you can't fit that no more,
right?
Amazon.
No, I only steal for her. I did a couple years ago. I was actually making custom clothing for other little girls. I just did not like it. It took the joy out of it. One, I had less time to just create for her, and yeah, it shifted the experience because she looking at me create stuff for other little girls. She what do you do?
She's like, have you finished my tights yet?
So yeah, for me, it's just I focus just on doing it with her. I've been asked about that a lot lately. I would love to design a collection, just that one that I don't have to physically sew for other kids, and maybe even incorporate daddy daughter stuff in it. But yeah, my passion is just what I'm kind of creating with her and how it builds her self-esteem and her confidence. a lot of the stuff that I've had, I've either donated or just got rid of. There are some stuff that I've kept, like every year we go to like a big daddy-daughter dance. So I keep like all of those dresses and I keep her shoes from those occasions. But everybody's like, oh, like her closet must be amazing. I'm like, one, she's a growing kid, so I can make her something in not long, the next season she can't really wear it because she's growing fast too. So
Yeah.
it's it's not what everybody thinks, but I just continuously like create for her kind of on the go. But we'll see where all this kind of takes me because yeah.
And there's a lot of kids that probably, I mean, there's a lot, especially in the Philadelphia area, that parents are single mother or single father. You're seeing more single fathers now than you are single mothers. Because mothers have decided, they've been doing it all this time. It's our turn, so everybody's paying each other back and the kids are suffering.
Right.
But, and I'm just speaking, I don't know, just the feeling that I got when hearing you is, it would be nice. And I'm just going to put this in the atmosphere for you. So when you become rich, just slide me a couple of dollars. Okay? But, doing something like an organization where maybe, the clothes that she can't fit, that you start collecting them and people can come in who may not have outfits for school or prom or something like that, you're not having to make more clothes, but it's just kind of like an open closet, where some kids may be able to come and pick out outfits and have it, especially now with the pandemic. People have lost their jobs and clothes probably not fitting out here with, high waters on. There are probably some jeans that your daughter has, and there are some leggies that can benefit one of these children. So, I'm just throwing it out there. You ain't got to do it, but I'm just, a lot of time that way it doesn't take away from, when you start getting money involved, it starts taking away the passion, right? Like you're saying, like once it starts becoming like, I can finish my daughter's leggings or I can finish this jacket because this lady keep calling me, And so now you got to finish the lady's jacket because she keep calling. So, and then if she don't like it, now you got to spend more time on it, fixing it. So I can totally get why, starting to turn it into a full-time business can take away from the meaning or the purpose of you doing it.
Right.
But please don't throw them clothes away. I know people probably be standing next to the garbage can waiting for her to grow out every year. Like, I can't wait till they throw away another jacket. But having something like that I think would be amazing. So we have some people that are talking. Let's see. So then your close friends, they could possibly add to the closet chest to give local children in need. Oh, somebody said they like the idea. It's my idea, so make sure you tell people. Thank you. I don't want to see you on the Oprah show like, yeah, I decided to open up an organization and be like, excuse me. But just thank you for just being who you are and just doing the things that you feel are the right thing to do, and the other people is like, oh my God, but to you it's like, I'm just being a father, but it is a big deal because there's a lot of people who are living vicariously through you, and you're encouraging other men to tap into their creative side, especially Black men. You're getting them to tap into their creative side. So we have some people here saying, do you create your own patterns?
Yeah, actually, so I'm self-taught as well. So I kind of learned through YouTube and Pinterest. So yeah, a lot of the stuff that pretty much everything that I make her is self-drafted. About 2 years ago, I actually occasionally started using a pattern just because I wanted to kind of be familiar with the process and using a pattern. But yeah, most of it is me. Like I could take like a t-shirt that fits her, lay it on fabric, cut it out, and then create, whatever it is I plan to create. So I'm not necessarily like cutting out my own like paper patterns, but essentially I'm still doing the same thing. Just kind of self-drafting it myself.
That's awesome.
So for those fathers out there that are trying to figure out how can I bond with my daughter, I got some extra time on my hands. What skill can I pick up? Where can they go to find you being that sewist, to find you being that daddy daughter? Where are some places that we can point some people to go and check out some of the things you're doing?
So one, I post the most on my Instagram. which is at Daddy Dressed Me by MG. I relaunched my blog and like shop about a month and a half ago. That's www.daddydressme by MG as well. Also on Facebook too, same name. I share the most on Instagram though. Excuse me. And yeah, and mainly in part because I want to actually encourage other fathers, because before I started sewing, I was just sharing little stuff that Ava and I did together. Lessons that I was learning, because I know there are other fathers, excuse me, in a similar situation that didn't have their father. Now you become a father and you like, what am I supposed to do? Like, you got a whole kid here and you got to figure it all out. So yeah, like I just feel it's important to kind of see images of what it is that you're trying to be too. So I follow a lot of dad pages. So it reinforces that, okay, what I'm doing, I'm on the right path. But yeah, Instagram is definitely like my favorite place to kind of post those pictures, I'm not on Twitter or anything like that, but
Gotcha.
So what is one advice you would give to a father that's watching right now? What would you tell him?
I would say the first step is actually clearing up whatever your heartbreak, disappointment from your childhood. Deal with that first. I still work through that now. Every time I see a father and son, I'm triggered in some sort of way. It's not always like a negative thing, but I'm reminded that especially when it's like a young son and and a father, I'm reminded that, oh, that's not the experience that I had. I wanted that. So yeah, I would say start there, figuring out, how like your lack of your father's presence, or even if you had your father and it wasn't a great experience, like work through that so it's not impacting what you're trying to actually create with your child. Because it will show up and it will, you'll end up hurting your kid the same way your dad hurt you. And then I would just say, just be engaged with your kid. Like, in part, me kind of going on this journey with Ava is just being like watching her personality, seeing that she's, fun and a little sassy and and funny. And seeing that is what kind of made me feel like, okay, we could actually like do this together. And 6 years later, this is what it's become. So, yeah, I think those two, that's like, to me, the best place to start. That's where I started.
Well, I love it, man. Absolutely love it. I look back at my childhood and this, I can find myself trying not to be what I saw, in my father. And then on the other side, some of the things that I loved in him, trying to, take that to another level. So much of what you dropped today can be so relevant to so many men, specifically Black fathers around the nation, around the world. And we just want to thank you, man. Thank you for your time, for your evening. Thank you for the man that you are to your daughter, because definitely a great example. Definitely.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys having me. It was my pleasure.
Sure.
Absolutely. And again, just thank you and continue to be great. And you're not making any mistakes. So don't ever, sometimes we feel like we're not doing enough or wondering if we're doing enough, and you're doing what you need to do, and it is enough. So I thank you from a woman speaking on a women's behalf, but just your time that you're spending with her is priceless, and I appreciate what you're doing in your daughter's life, and it's encouraging to me as a woman as well, to know that there are some great men out there that make some great fathers. So just thank you for not only encouraging the men, but encouraging the women as well, and to tap into their creative side. So again, thank you, and don't forget about me when you my organization. Okay, all right. I don't want to see you on the Oprah show, because I'm gonna have to call you out.
I got you.
Thank you again for being on the Black Podcast, and we will continue to support you. And may God bless you and your family, and cover during these holidays, and that everything is well.
sure.
Thank you very much.
So you'll go back to the backstage, and then we'll close out.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we had another great father in the building, and so father, dad, mentor, financial advisor. He's just doing it all. So it was very humbling to have him, and just see that what he's doing is actually just to build a relationship with his daughter. He's not trying to make a dime out of it. You know, sometimes people try to make at least $1. But he's like, I don't want your dollar, because the value that he has with his daughter is more valuable than any offer that somebody could give him. And so that's just amazing to me. I didn't even know that it wasn't a full-time business. I really thought that there was a business they had together, but it's really just what he uses to build their relationship. And that's just amazing.
That's it, man. And just that value that he's instilling into her is showing her, like, you can just go out, just do what you love. Don't worry about the rest. Just do what you love. And everything else, eventually, it'll take care of itself. So that was another one. This is our last episode for this month, guys. So thankful for everybody that tuned in. You guys really make this a pleasure, especially for those of you who engage, who ask questions. We're going into a season of thanks. Next couple of days, Thanksgiving. So as I said, I'm thankful for all of our viewers. We got so much more to come. But you guys go out and stay safe. I know a lot of people are traveling. A lot of people spending a little bit more time around others. So whatever measures you have to put in place, do what you got to do to keep you, yourself, and just all of those that you care for, to keep them safe. So off that note.
And wait. I want to personally tell you that since we're celebrating Black fathers, I appreciate how you are with your daughter and your son. And you are also a great example for our Black men out here and what they're doing, just balancing your entrepreneurship, your fatherhood. You're doing a wonderful job. And so I wanted everyone on the Black podcast to know that not only are we celebrating my Black father and other people's Black father, but Brian, we thank you for being the great father that you are to your children and continue to do great things.
Well, I appreciate it. Black man blushed over there.
Your cheeks got like some kind of red or something like that. But we'll be here next Thursday. Okay, next Thursday. So today was only because of the holiday. So we'll be here next Thursday. And you do not want to miss. Okay. I'm just letting you know right now. I ain't gonna spill all the beans, but you can start looking on my social media and seeing who we have coming up for next week. You want to tell them, B, or you want to just keep it a secret?
We gonna keep it a secret. Y'all
okay, all right.
We'll drop it on social media, but we keep it. We going all the way up. All right, guys. Have a good one. We'll see you next week.